Guys, I'm Colette Schnabel. For those of you who do not know me, I'm trying to look at the names. I think everyone here is friends that we have. And so for those of you that don't know me that might be watching the replay, um, my name's Colette Schnabel. I'm a mom of two. I live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I love this thing called biohacking. Maybe it's something that you have heard of before, and maybe it's you've never heard of this term. So, with that, why don't you let me know if you know what biohacking is? And I'm excited to introduce my friend David he's in Dallas, that he said. And, David and I have known each other a few years, but David, you have not always known of biohacking, right? It's just something a little bit new to you in your life. So why don't you share a little bit about yourself? And then also, I love to hear everyone's personal definition of what biohacking is.
Ooh, okay. Biohacking to me, the personal definition, and then I'll circle back to your other question.
Okay.
I would say I call it like health optimization, right? That's, I think, the most succinct way I could describe that. Now, backstory, kind of how I got into that space. So I come from the talent industry, come modeling, acting, spokesmodeling, traveling and speaking on behalf of brands. I've been life and career coach, been a flight attendant. So a lot of variety in my background, but it was the talent industry where we really place an emphasis on our health because our body is our instrument. So um, you find very health-minded people because this has to be cared for really, really well.
Hmm.
But I would say deeper than that goes back to actually my faith roots because my whole approach to wanting to take care of my health came from I want to live life well. I want the best life possible, and I want to take care of what I've been given so that I can do what I'm here to do, right? So I can live out the calling that God's given me.
Hmm.
And so that mindset was already there um, to take care of what I have. Biohacking, I think, as I was thinking about it, is really a an outgrowth of the culture that we've built of an industrialized world where we're farther from natural things than we ought to be, than is really great for us. And so to live a lot of the lifestyles that we've built for the careers we have or the cities we live in, there is a need to biohack, to get back our health by optimizing it through some of these tips, tricks, tools um, that some of which one of which at least we'll talk about today to get back to really our origins, our origin functionality, our original health capabilities.
Yeah, I think that was really beautiful. And I like that, you did bring it back to, what our bodies were created to be actually doing. And unfortunately, we have so many things that are fighting against us in this day and age, from food supply, the EMFs, everything that's out there, pollutions. Um, it's hard for someone to be able to live a fully thriving life, even if without, trying to do outsourcing things. We just have so much fighting against us. And I mean, I had that, excuse me, same experience. That's why I found this community of biohackers, and I know that you called it health optimization, other terms that we love to say bioharmonizing, because really, if your life and your internal ecology and even external is in harmony, then your body can function in the correct way. So bioharmonizing is a beautiful word that I really like to resonate with. And um I came into it because I was suffering and I was what I thought to be ultimately healthy. I was doing like cleanses all the time, and I was constantly seeing my acupuncturist and my chiro, and I still was suffering from chronic pain and really debilitating anxiety. And there was something else that I had to figure out. And once I realized that it's not just my physical body that I need to take care of, that there's body, mind, spirit aspect involved. And that's what really opened the door for me to understand that it's an all-encompassing thing that has to stay in coherence for me to be thriving. And so I thank you for explaining that to me now. So we're here really today to share with you guys more, about this world of health optimization. Because there's something really exciting that's going to be happening in a few short weeks, with a modality that David and I both use to advance our health. And so, really, I think where I want to start our call today is more on the molecule of what we're here to talk about. And then we'll talk about how and why is this so important. So we're here to really educate you guys today on a molecule called molecular hydrogen. And maybe you guys, some of you here obviously know what that is, but other people here do not know. And you're like, molecular hydrogen, did I sign up for a science class? So I didn't know. I had heard of this molecule. I was taking a supplement that had this because I saw other people were doing it, but I didn't educate myself. And I really pride myself on education in this space. And so when I finally took the time, and I think it was around the same time as you, David, to understand what molecular hydrogen is and its true capacity to optimize our health and our lifestyles, I was like really blown away. So, David, why don't you tell me about how you first came to learn about molecular hydrogen? Because not only has David like also gone down rabbit holes, but David has gotten certified in understanding, like being able to truly like speak and understand the science of what molecular hydrogen is and what it can do and the potential of what the future holds for us with it. So, tell me the things.
Yeah, the whole journey, I mean, I think we've stopped mentioning it as much, but for many of us, this was a very divinely ordered turning point in our lives, right?
Mhm.
This was not something I was looking for by any means. I took care of my health, was traveling, living my life, and a friend invited me to the very first Zoom call where our CEO, Taryn, was just like the very first time she was willing to even talk about this was something she was considering bringing to the world. And knew nothing about it, but in my own personal life, had after that Zoom call, there were multiple confirmations that this was something that God was like, you need to be involved and be paying attention. This is not just another thing, because nobody's looking for anything more to do in their life. That's not anybody's issue. Um, so I didn't know anything behind the science of it, but I did know that God was saying, pay attention. And so I mean, I leaned in
Mm.
and started showing up and asking questions and learning. I went as far as to actually travel to Portugal last October. So the first Zoom call was August of last year. And we were kind of in that pre-launch phase. And for me, when I get the level of leading that the Spirit had for me on something, I just show up and I be available. I'm like, okay, how can I be involved? What do you want from me? And just look, listen, feel, ask questions. And that took me to Portugal, where I met our creator, Nuno, at his clinic. And for those who don't know the backstory of Nuno's gift, the man has a God-given gift to see frequency with his eyes. And so he sees the world that way. And because he's been running this clinic with this gift, he's been able to see the interaction of problem and solution for decades of these people come in with these issues, he can see what they are. They then engage in health modalities that see things that Western medicine had previously thought were uncurable or couldn't be turned around. And he has given people their lives back.
Mhm.
And so it reached a point where, though he was involved in many other things and has had his own career journey, it was like, it's time to bring what I know works in my clinic to the world. So when I met him, he did the same thing he's done for other people. He just looked at my body and he said, hey, these are the things going on in your body. Well, he'd never met me before, but he hit all of the things that I knew were already going on.
Mhm.
So it was a wonderful confirmation that like this man really has a gift to create solutions for people because he can see the real problem. He can also tell when the solution really works.
Yeah.
So he, of course, then we begin learning of the stories of what all was happening in his clinic and the people's stories that have encouraged so many of us of how simple something like the water that you drink could be um, transforming people's health. And again, my background with the talent industry was like I looked for very simple solutions, right? Eat what you can to be healthy, be careful what you put on your skin, like very simple things. I at the bottom, I mean, at my core, I'm a maximizer, I think. Like, what minimum input can I give for maximum output?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's across the board.
Hmm.
And so the stories of the simplicity of the molecular hydrogen as the foundational therapy at his clinic was really encouraging. I was like, I can do that. I can drink water. It doesn't inconvenience my life. I know I need to drink more of it anyway. So if you're telling me that doing the thing I know I need to do is going to have an even better impact on my health, I'm all in. That's not a hard sell for me. And then it was just beginning to learn the science of it. What is it? What is it doing? That kind of thing. But his own unique gift, his testimonies of what's worked in his clinic, were all just very supportive of like, this is worthwhile. And it's been validated by the scientific community with the peer-reviewed research, which is all, you don't always get that. In this
Hmm.
world of those of us looking for natural health solutions, we don't always get the like nice checkbox that says the science community also endorses this.
Yeah.
um, that was really encouraging as well. And I think helps a lot of people know that it's more than just woo woo. Um, so yeah, all of those pieces fell into place for me really beautifully. And then, yes, I did actually, while I was in Portugal, I did go through the Molecular Hydrogen Institute, their 101 course, which is all that they have right now to get certified and just understand the science of it. It's not hard. If you're even considering it, I would highly recommend it. It's for me, it was like going back to AP chemistry, which I haven't done since high school. So it was a nice refresher. But it was just giving you the language to talk to people who are going to have questions. It's not that you need to be the science expert. That's not anybody's job. We all have our lives, and that's not the point, as you're sharing with people. But it has given me a couple of greater insights that would help when somebody says something that I know is not true. I know enough to know that, and then you can speak to what you know is true.
Yeah, and people you're gonna get questions, I mean, and I think one of the most basic questions so that we both get is, well, there's already hydrogen in water, So it's like being comfortable and confident to be able to answer questions to people to help support them within their journey, and it's like, and that's what what I love about the day and age of where we are in is people want to know. Like people want to know what we're doing, right? We're not here to be hush hush about I'm thriving, sorry you're suffering, Like we want people to feel well and be well. We were all very unwell for many years and secluded and locked up, and so now we want to be able to help support people through this journey um and to build community and to also feel great doing so. So, let's talk a bit about, this miracle molecule and all that it does within the body. So, you know, as it goes in, David, it goes in and it scavenges for all that stress and all of the damaged cells and things like that, right? And it's called the God molecule for a reason because it's super selective. Um, and so from knowing that and what you've learned, what is probably one of the most exciting things about the gifts of what molecular hydrogen can do into someone's body?
Well, I think what you said is one of the most exciting because they do call it the God molecule. And again, as one of those other pieces that fell into place for me along this journey, right? In understanding that in Hebrew, the first letter of the alphabet is Aleph, which is literally stands for God. The Aleph is representative of God. So then hydrogen being the number one on the periodic table, and then to call it the God molecule was just a cute, like Holy Spirit wink for me about that. But its behavior is such that it has its own intelligence that we don't understand. Even the science community doesn't understand why it does it. They just observe that it does. As you said, it goes into your body and will selectively know what it is that needs attention and work on that issue for you. And for me, it'll do the same, and they won't be the same.
Mhm.
Whereas in general scientific principles, we know that diffusion or osmosis, something of a higher concentration, naturally diffuses till it's evenly distributed throughout the body or whatever, system you're referring to. That's not what they observe about hydrogen. And so that's one of the peculiar qualities of it that I love because we're all looking for easy solutions to work on our issues.
Mhm.
And this is one of the most foundational, not only in its behavior, but in its ability to literally get to everywhere in our body.
Yeah.
It's the smallest molecule. And so billions can fit on the hair of the strand of a hair. So in terms of like people talk about like the bubbles that are produced and they seem so large. Well, that's a large concentration of gas in that bubble because hydrogen itself is so small. So it crosses the blood-brain barrier. There's nowhere in your body that it can't get to work on what needs work. And again, like I said, at my core, I'm a simple person. I like life to be able to be simple. So maximizing minimum input, maximum output, this is continually that for me. So across the board, I've seen enormous things in my life. I've seen things change in my mom's health just from changing the water that I drink. And that's the wow for me. You know, yes, we have a long list of things, and that's incredible, the testament to it. But the wow for me is the simplicity of it.
Yeah, and I think I want to also comment on that simplicity because like even prior to me learning about the molecular hydrogen, I was literally that person who had a drawer and a pantry and another thing like full of all of, the supplements, all the things that I thought that I needed,
Yeah,
right? And and so once the hydrogen works within the body and brings back its natural wisdom, and one thing I really like is that it has its antioxidant like abilities. So inside when it's working through your mitochondria and everything, that upregulates and allows more of the antioxidants like glutathione to be produced. I was spending hundreds of dollars a month on glutathione,
yeah,
and so I'm now able to actually reduce a lot of what I was taking, because
absolutely.
and I believe, like and you said, it's a foundational piece because once
Yeah.
you allow your body to get back into the most functioning that it can, then you could take a step back and see, okay, where else do I need to come in and bring in other modalities or supplementation or things like that.
Well, and if I may tag on to that, it's also encouraging too, because if you're engaging some other modality in your life already, like when patients would come to Nuno's clinic, the very first thing every person gets on is the molecular hydrogen rich water, because first you need to put the cell environment in such a state that it can receive other modalities.
Mhm.
And a lot of us are so systemically dehydrated. That was one of my issues when he met me. He pointed out my thyroid was weak, my digestion was off, I had an issue in my shoulder, and I was severely dehydrated just looking at me sitting across the table.
Mhm.
So even though I thought I was healthy and doing what I could to be healthy, he's telling me that no, your body is severely dehydrated. We are systemically. And once you understand that one of the behaviors of hydrogen is it activates the aquaporin in the cell membrane, that opens up, allows water into the cell. So a lot of us are drinking water, but it's flushing directly to our bladder. So we're not actually absorbing any of that. And in many cases, we might be flushing minerals. So with the hydrogen rich water, its cell membrane opens up, toxins are able to exit, water comes in. I've had people in the last several months, I've been drinking it since December, but they've met me again. We've gone to lunch or brunch or whatever, and they're like, oh my gosh, you look younger. And I truly believe it's because my skin is showing the fact that I'm actually hydrated rather than just flushing water in and through my system. But again, to those of you who might be engaging in some other modality with the molecular hydrogen in your system, those things that you're doing are more effective.
Yeah.
If you are needing a supplement, it is going to be more effective in your body. So you're not just wasting money, but you're actually maximizing what you're putting into your cells. But as Colette pointed out, Nuno is one of the first to say when you get hydrogen rich into your body system, a lot of the things you're taking you won't need to take any longer. And he said that to me. You'll be able to stop taking things because your body will go back to producing what it's supposed to produce on its own, which
Mhm.
is a win for everybody. Because that's a cost savings, that's a simplicity of life, that's a maximizing of health.
Yeah. So we've shared with you guys a little bit, to understand, what the hydrogen can do. And I mean, other and just little other things that we could talk about quickly is like, I have two young children, and I'm like my kids, I put it in their water bottles before they go to school every day. My daughter has suffered from extreme allergies and things like that, and I've seen them get switched off immediately, like minutes after drinking the hydrogen water. And then I know a lot of us use it in our beauty regimen as well, because it can penetrate our skin. So many people are cleansing their face with this hydrogen water. So it's multifaceted and not just something that we're only consuming by drinking it. So let's now we'll go in to talk to you guys about this product, and we'll wrap up with this exciting news that's gonna happen. So I was gonna do some slides, but I think that we're cool by just talking about it. I'll hold it. So David and I both use this amazing technology called Cell Power by LumiVitae, and so it not only creates therapeutic amounts of hydrogen, and so that's also important. So I'm going to turn it on here, and while we talk about the therapeutic amounts of hydrogen, real quick, let I'll just show it how the bubbles are going here, but it's important that when you invest in your health that you look for something that is at least certified and is creating therapeutic amounts of hydrogen. So David, from what you've learned, why is that important?
Well, if the concentration of hydrogen is not enough, the scientific community, not to say that there's not any value, but again, we're going to lean on the peer-reviewed research to help validate what we are sharing with people. And the peer-reviewed research says that if it's not of it enough concentration, there's no measurable impact.
Mhm.
So that's why we use that term therapeutic levels, because it means it's at least reached a level where the scientific community can validate and observe that it has had a positive health impact.
Yeah. And have you seen, obviously we are brought to our attention many other types of hydrogen bottles out there. Um, and, but there's some that claim they have certifications, right? Have you seen this?
Yeah.
How can someone know the difference?
So there is a governing body. The IHSA certification is the industry standard for a product to be validated by a third party to test it, durability testing, but also therapeutic level testing to validate the claims that that product can and does actually do what it says that it does. So if you see IHSA certified that that product does actually deliver what it claims to deliver, and if you don't, then it's a gamble because in this world of unregulated things, people can say anything they want, and it may not actually be what you're delivering to yourself. And as we're talking about, if you're not getting the therapeutic level, you are really just doing a placebo.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you for explaining that. So this is the base down here, and the base is creating that therapeutic amount of hydrogen. You can see the bubbles are going up, and then as they get to the top, they kind of disperse and they diffuse into the water. Also in this base, because of Nuno's gifts, and this is one thing that he has through our education, and that's one thing that I love about this company is we are heavy with education here. And that's because there's a lot of smoke and mirrors out there in this field. So that's something I deeply resonate with as a wellness entrepreneur that I align with a founder, I align with the vision and the education that they provide, as well as the quality of product. So um, with what he had realized at a younger age was that the to have a optimized life you need water, magnetism, and energy. And so with that, he actually in the base put a calibrated magnetic ring here. And so that magnetic ring mimics the Earth's magnetic field. And so there's this toroidal field that goes around our hydrogen bottle here. And something that's important to know, like when people start to learn about different biohacking modalities and things like that, and they hear like a magnetic field, um, those can be has some contraindications to people sometimes if they have a pacemaker or they're pregnant. If they're a big magnetic field or they're a strong magnetic field. And luckily, and I was very happy about this, that this doesn't have that. Like it's just enough for the water, right? And so, David, how would you explain what the magnets are doing to the water?
Well, I mean, the whole thing was to recreate ancient waters that we don't have access to today in our world. The grounding earth energy would be something that natural spring water would naturally have if you were pulling that directly from the spring in that moment before consumption. And so in the world of modalities, I mean, mobility and industrialization, we're several degrees removed from fresh
Yeah.
living water. And so a lot of us have dead water that we're really drinking and hoping that it's still bringing back what we need from it. And so his gift to us was recreating the Earth's natural environment in something that we can take with us anywhere and use anywhere, any time of day, that nobody has a barrier to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And there was something else I was going to say, but my brain will come back.
Okay. Also, so when the base is creating the hydrogen water with the magnetic field, there's also another ability that you can do here that's called the chromotherapy feature. So this is just different ways that the LED light can change colors, so you can look at it based off of what it is that you like at that moment. You could also dive deeper if you would prefer to look into what chromotherapy is. There's many different things that you can learn about on the internet with that. Um, Now, I want to continue to still talk about, the making of the hydrogen down here, because we have been talking about how there's so many different types of of bottles out there on the market, and we're not calling this a hydrogen bottle. This is definitely a device, and what it's creating here for us. Now, in the base, when the hydrogen is created, there is you can see the little, but you can't. There is a membrane, and that membrane is what separates the byproducts that are created through the process of electrolysis when the hydrogen is created. So, David, do you want to talk a little bit about, what is made through that by process? And then if you want to talk about the membrane, you can, or I can go into that.
Yeah, sure. So electrolysis, for those who don't know the term, is just using electricity to separate the oxygen from the hydrogen. And you do that with an anode and a cathode. And ours is a sandwich style. So the only part that is the top part is what's producing the hydrogen in the water. It's a beautifully elegant system because there's no external chamber that's needed. Our only byproduct is going to be oxygen gas, which there's a dot on the underside that can release that. And you're not producing toxins. So he's able to do this process at an impressively low level of voltage, which reduces the amount of negative toxins that are produced. But he also made sure that it's the strongest membrane in the world. It is platinum titanium coated. Correct me if I said that backward. Um, and it allows it to be the
Yeah.
most durable. So we've did early tests where like we pulled the next best membrane from other bottles. It was produced by a well-known manufacturer out there, and we could tear it just with our own hands. And at Nuno's request, I mean, at his assistant's request, Nuno created a membrane, the strongest in the world, that can handle up to boiling temperatures. So there's no disintegration, there's no breakdown of that membrane, which means you're not getting metals and byproducts leaching into the water that you're trying to drink for your health. So that was a huge um, gift, but also a standard of excellence and care. Because as a clinician first, no negative thing was an okay thing for him. If you're going to have people trust you and pay you to get their health back, there was no acceptable level of negative impact that he would allow. So we're really benefiting from the fact that he was a clinician first, not a businessman who saw an opportunity and said, "Hey, I can jump on that bandwagon."
Yeah.
And one of those evidences is the fact that we have the strongest membrane in the world. So you're drinking water, good water in, good water out. The purity of what you put in is maintained by the purity of what's produced. And we've tested also the byproduct of the water of other bottles and seen the heavy metals that are produced in that drinking water. So again, that's not acceptable for a clinician level of care. And so that's what we benefit from and get in our bottle.
Yeah, this really, yeah, beautifully said. And so and I have had the opportunity to, see a lot of these other types of bottles, and I do a lot of research when I read these in people's websites and things like that. And so most other bottles, on the market, they're made of, they say BPA free plastic. So this is medical grade Triton plastic that can withstand up to 100-degree Celsius water as well. And so this is important too, because BPA are not the only thing that we need to be worried about. That's what a lot of people think about, but there's BPS, BPF, and those start to leach at a heavy temperature. And that is also, it's safe inside our bottle as well because of the Triton plastic. And so and we when we clean our bottle, we utilize boiling water as well, and we use lemon juice or citric acid. And I'm telling you guys this because through most of the research and investigating I've done of other devices on the market, one, they don't necessarily tell you how to clean those electrodes. Now, why would we want to do that? Just like your kettle or something else in your kitchen that builds up, the calcium and the deposits over time, so will our water, because there's always going to be some form of mineral content or total dissolved solids or TDS that we call it in this water. And so you have to utilize hot water and something to help break down that buildup to maintain the quality of the hydrogen production that's being done. So again, these are just other important pieces to know about if you are looking to invest in your health. Now, lastly, our favorite part, it's a whole other device within itself, is the lid. The lid creates frequencies that actually imprint information into the water. So we have energy and recovery. That's great for after a workout, even at the end of the day, because even if you didn't work out, your body is still like accumulating all of this oxidative stress. And so and that's why your body repairs itself at night. So utilizing that recovery frequency is great for that. And then LumiVitae means light of life. So this is actually like life force frequencies that are being imprinted into the water. And so maybe you are new to what frequencies are, how that actually works with the water. So think of the water as the water molecules as like an AM radio that you're trying to like find that station, right? And it's all fuzzy and it doesn't sound nice. Well, the frequencies come in and they're like, get out of here, AM radio. We got satellite and it's going to come in perfectly clear. It's going to change the way the molecules are they're moving, like they're having more coherence into the water. They're structuring the water with the information. And so when we drink that and consume it, that energy imprintation into the water molecule is then speaking to us at an energetic level, and it starts to ultimately create a change and a resonance effect with inside our own bodies. That's what I have to say about the frequencies.
I love it. You're so good at that.
Well, guys, frequencies are what changed my life, and they're why I'm here today. So I'm so passionate about this as well. And it's like, and when I was asked to come on board to be part of this, last year, I had just finished a really large conference and they said, Colette, there's nothing like this. And I hear this a lot. There's nothing like this. I'm like, okay,
Me
okay.
too.
But then they're like, tell me, I'm like, whoa, wait, there really is nothing like this on the market. And there still isn't, you know? I don't think that we will probably see anything that can ever compare to what this technology is. So we're at least, years ahead. So David, let's talk about, the future of hydrogen. What kind of things are you excited about and like what have you heard in the predictions of what's going to be happening in the next few years?
Well, before I will answer that, but I want to add on to what you said. So with the frequencies, right? The LumiVitae frequency is the sunlight frequency. And so no one would have thought to create something like this except a man who has a gift to see the world literally the way that he does with frequency. He sees the natural world that way. He sees our body that way. So he can see the behavior of nature in response to different stimuli. And so that's why including the frequencies was a non-negotiable for him because he's also been a pioneer in the area of frequency therapy technology. So that understanding of what it does for the body to incorporate that into this technology that we can now carry with us and inform the water that we drink every day, all day is such a gift, but also a huge differentiator from anything else that's out there. The LumiVitae frequency is that sunlight frequency. So we're recreating, like I said, that biosphere. So sunlight from above, the magnetic field of the earth below, and then bringing vitality back to our dead water is why those two pieces together were created and gifted to us. In terms of the future, and there's an educational thing I want to circle back to help just everybody. The future, shoot, I've never been great at vision casting. So I don't think it's one of my gifts. But from people who are, I do hear them seeing an acceleration of even what they thought was the timeline that this would become normalized health tool. The huge biohacking documentary, I think, is going to be a huge thrust forward in terms of awareness and the conversation. And so a lot of us had, like I said, felt this divine leading to get into this space. And now we see this expansion that is happening as more people are becoming aware of the hydrogen conversation. Um, Being able to have that in an intelligent manner is important. So that education piece. Um, I would love to see this normalized in everybody's life because it's such a simple tool that everyone can use and everyone will benefit uniquely. Um, I mean, for me, we didn't even talk about all the things that it's done for me, but like my first week, my allergies fixed themselves. And usually in December, I'm on multiple allergy meds because I live in Texas, the cedar blows up from the south, and then I'm on like several allergy meds. With just drinking the water, I was able to maybe not need it at all, but if I needed maybe just one and not two that first year, now I've got enough buildup in my body. I don't think this year I'm going to need it at all. Um, my digestion issue that Nuno had seen stabilized itself within that first month. I had no idea why my digestion was so off, but then come to find out it was because I had been drinking alkaline water for so long, thinking I was doing a good thing for myself, and then come to find out that all these natural health people have known that that's one of the first things that goes wrong is your digestive tract gets messed up. So got off of that. I also had my thyroid issue that I was aware of, but trying to figure out what modality will I begin to engage to try to repair that. My libido was low, my energy was low, my motivation to work out was low, my testosterone obviously being core, all of that, but not sure why or even what to do about it. And Nuno told me, he said, just drink this water, it will fix itself. And so when I saw him again in July, so I'd been drinking it for 6 months, saw him in July at our launch conference. He looked at me, he was like, "Oh, your thyroid's doing better." And I was like, "I know it is because I had the energy to go back to the gym and work out. I'd hired my trainer again. Like I could see the evidence of my body being better, even without being able to see the way he can see. Sleep improve, workout recovery has been enormously helpful. Where you used to lift and then that second day you can't walk when you did legs. I don't get that anymore, which I don't miss.
Mhm.
It's allowed me to get more workouts in with greater ease and less burnout, less fatigue. And then for me, the big thing was like my mom's health has always been really important for me. And she was able to get off anxiety and depression meds that she'd been on for way longer than I realized.
Mhm.
She just went to bed one night and forgot to take it and woke up the next day and was like, "Oh, I forgot to take it last night. Well, let's just see how I do," and just continue to not need it.
Wow.
And that was enormous, for somebody to see those kind of, I've been stuck on this thing for a long time and now I'm free of it. That's huge.
Yeah.
So that's been some of the health stuff I've experienced in my life. Not to mention the beauty thing. I mean, I got a new camera. I think you can see how good my skin looks.
That-
Um, and then you were asking, yeah, the future. I think the future is amazing. I think people are going to discover the beauty of the simplicity of this and the power of it. As we are so passionate about education, but there's confusion that you're going to encounter in the industry. So I want to make people aware. You're going to hear people talk about hydrogen water. And that's the reason the MHI certification is really helpful to help you make sense of the confusing marketing language that gets out there. Hydrogen ions change the pH of the water. That is not what we're talking about. So when you hear somebody talk about hydrogen water, you need to be very discerning and make sure that we're talking about molecular hydrogen, which is two hydrogen ions bonded together. They behave differently. Hydrogen ions themselves are what create oxidation and all those things in our body, free radicals, and they change the pH of the water. So you're going to find tools that can change the pH of the water. They can do it very inexpensively, but all that's going to do is mess with your stomach acid and your digestion. That is not the therapeutic thing that we're talking about. That's not molecular hydrogen that we're talking about. And it's really important that when you speak to people about this, if you're a believer and an educator and a user, that molecular hydrogen is the term that you're referencing because hydrogen alone is often what those who are trying to ride the bandwagon of this wave will use to create confusion. And they're usually just talking about hydrogen ions and pH.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm really glad that you said that because, a lot of people will say, "Oh, yeah, no, I drink this water, and it has that in it."
And they'll
And
say, I'm drinking hydrogen water because they've been told that. And that's just, if you dig a little deeper, it's usually just the pH.
right. Oh, well, I'm just so excited, about this. And for those of you that are here and what we've shared today, how many of you are new to understanding, what it is that David and I are talking about? Put a one in the chat if this is your first time hearing, about molecular hydrogen and its amazing abilities of what it can do within the body. Okay. Everybody knew. Everybody knew
I
about it.
love it.
Right.
Hey, we're all just continuing to sharpen each other.
And I think that that's beautiful as well, and I think that that is another beautiful thing about what we do here is it's these types of gatherings, that continue to help each other be able to speak more confidently and fluidly with our own community and friends.
Yes.
And so I thank
Absolutely.
you all for, taking the time here to be with us today. So let's just go and talk about the real exciting opportunity to wrap up so people are aware of what's coming and why, LumiVitae is something that you guys should keep your eye on. And maybe, if you are looking to bring something in for your own health or some friends and family, how this is going to be, really exploding within the next few weeks. So, how can you leverage this biohacking community that's rapidly growing? I mean, it's in the next year. I mean, this is a $3 trillion industry, guys. So how can you leverage it? And David kind of gave you a little hint before, and that's because we're going to be focusing on an amazing documentary that's coming out December 15th, straight to Amazon Prime. It's called Biohack Yourself. This documentary is truly going to change the trajectory for wellness entrepreneurs, clinicians, athletes, anyone that's in the space of helping other people thrive. And why is that? So, Biohack Yourself is created um, by it's a 5-part documentary series where they interviewed 113 of the world's leading experts in health optimization and biohacking, longevity, whatever you want to call it. So these are just a few of the wonderful faces that will be on this documentary. Maybe you know some of them and you've seen some of their familiar faces. And then we also have some other people here that I wanted to highlight that were going to be featured. Our actual CEO, Taryn Lee, was invited to be on the documentary, as well as another one of our affiliates, Carrie Drinkwine. And so on December 15th, we are going to be premiering LumiVitae to the world. So the masses can really get an idea of what is happening within this space. And Dr. Tyler LeBaron here from the Molecular Hydrogen Institute is who gave David his certification. And so he's also featured in this documentary. And these are just some of the 50 different brands that they are going to be educating and giving people actual solutions to help with their health journey. And I think that that's something that's really brilliant because a lot of the times you'll watch these documentaries and you learn about things that can happen in your life, but then you're like, but wait, what do I do? How do I support myself? So now not only are they bringing in the experts, but they're also bringing in the different modalities that can help people's health journeys. So that's why David and I and all of us that are here on this call are so passionate about sharing this technology of cell power by LumiVitae. And the mission that we're on is creating the next evolution in technology and wellness for the world. So I just really invite all of you to start talking to your families and your friends, letting them know about what molecular hydrogen water is. If you need this replay, we'll be sure to give it to you. And that also, just for a few more days as well, so everyone is aware, if you don't know, LumiVitae never ever discounts their product. And as a wellness entrepreneur and someone who has been in this space for many years, I really, I value that decision that they've made because they don't dumb down the product. They hold the integrity of what this device is, what this device can do for people. And they're not cutting corners really in making this for us at all. So that being said, until November 30th, they are actually, when you purchase a LumiVitae cell power device, you are receiving €100 credit that will stay on your account for 6 months. So whether that is you're wanting to then purchase another hydrogen device for a loved one or a friend, or you want to save it for one of our soon to be released products that will be coming out in the new year, you can do that as well. So it's super simple. It's you get back to the person who invited you to this call. You get a 2-year warranty with LumiVitae, 21-day money back guarantee, an awesome community like David and myself, and so many of these other beautiful faces that have joined us on the call today. And unless there's any questions for anyone, I just wanted to say thank you so very much for taking time before our long weekend here in America.
Yeah, and I would also say, the community is truly one of the great things about this company. The heart of the people who have gathered here is so pure in their motivation. It wasn't about money. For Nuno, it was not about money. It was about health. It was about giving people their health back so they can live the life that they're here to live. They're uniquely created and put here to live. And Taryn resonates with that same thing. And their shared value is that of freedom. And
Mm,
so the two prongs of our company, health freedom is through the gift of our technology, and then wealth freedom is the gift of the business side of the opportunity. And it's there for anyone and everyone equally.
yeah,
But the motivation is so important to me because that's what I'm coming into agreement with. It's what I'm investing my time, talent, energy, treasure in being part of. And I love these people. I love what we're about. I love what it's doing for people. And so that's not a small thing. You could buy something from anybody and have no relationship to it. It could still do good things for you. But when you know you're sowing into good soil, that's also a really great thing because I think our company is going to see phenomenal fruit. I think we're truly just in the beginning days for us
I
and
think
what's
so.
possible.
Awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your weekend.
It was a
Thank you,
pleasure.
everyone, for spending time with us today and your sweet words in the comments. So, thank you all so much. And we'll get this up on YouTube as soon as possible. Bye.
Love you all. Happy Thanksgiving, USA.